Whenever you start a job, you never know where it's going to go, and especially in your position where you're really from the ground up developing exciting educational experiences for Jewish education. What inspired you to go into this field?
Well, so actually when I was in college, I got degrees in computer science and business. I was in a management and technology program. And in that program, we really focused a lot on innovation and how you can use technology and best management techniques to really change everything and just look at how that's changed pretty much every industry. But unfortunately, there's one industry, where it really hasn't transformed everything in the way that it has in all industries, and that's education. I couldn't help but just realize how much could really be brought to the 21st century when it came to education, and in Jewish education even more so. And the idea of applying these ideas of disruptive innovation to education, which is something that I feel so passionately about and something that the Jewish community feels so passionately about, was really just something that I could not pass up.
And you're sourcing from things that are working in the educational community. Blended learning is something that is really is a game changer in Jewish education. What are you seeing within the tech world that is really going to take Jewish education to 2.0?
In the Jewish tech world?
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting here is you have the supply side and you have the demand side, and it's interesting to see how they play off each other, right? You have schools start wanting to use technology more, so companies start progressing, and they say, maybe we could do this better, maybe we could do that better, and then we could sell it to the schools. And as these new schools are starting up and really redefining what a school could look like, they therefore redefine what a school needs from a technology perspective. And we're really starting to see companies and groups and startups, for-profit, not-for-profit, pop up all over the place with different ideas of how they can use technology and online content to transform Jewish education. And it's definitely in its infancy stages right now, but we're seeing a huge increase over time. There's way more this year than last year, and there will definitely be way more next year than there is this year.
And let's talk about Yeshiva because that's really the epicenter. People are looking to that as the model to build out successful Jewish day schools of the future. So talk a little bit about the process of getting that started and how you're seeing now WTA and Tiferet as sort of like the next level in trying to educate the community at large of investing in this.
So from AJE's perspective, interestingly enough, this is a very different experience than it was last year with Yeshivat Hatid. We actually came in at exactly this point in the process with Yeshivat Hatid. So all the work that went up to this point in parlor meetings and recruiting parents and finding a principal and finding a building and fundraising, all of that happened before we ever showed up. And so we had the privilege of showing up to an open house with 350 people that I didn't have to plan at all, right? And then we come to these other groups and they're just starting and they see what's going on in Teaneck, and they're really inspired. We want to do the same thing. Our community needs it, but we have no idea how to do that. And so, in these two schools, in Westchester Torah Academy and Tiferet, we really had to play a much larger role in terms of taking everything we learned the first time around. It's something that was discussed a lot tonight, that this shouldn't be starting a school from scratch. This should be just starting a school from the starting point of where Yeshivat Hatid has already reached. And that's what's really exciting about this, is that every new school we open should build off the previous ones. And the three principals that we're now working with in these three schools are working together tremendously and have really high amount of respect for each other, and their skills really work. They blend together very, very nicely, and we really try to see this as one school. Not three different schools are going out on their own, but one group of people that's saying, how can we change Jewish education in every single community, not just ours?
Let's talk a little bit about blended learning, because that's something that people sometimes can't wrap their head around. Like, how does this work? What are you seeing working and not working?
So part of the confusion, I think, with blended learning is that blended learning can be a lot of different things. And the way, it's pretty easy to think about it as follows. You have one end of the spectrum. Right, one end of the spectrum is really traditional, old school, face-to-face, teacher lecturing in a classroom, no technology anywhere to be seen. The other end of the spectrum is completely online learning. You're sitting in your living room on a computer taking some online classes. And anything in between is considered blended learning. And so when you hear people talking about blended learning this, blended learning that, they could be talking about two completely different models that look nothing alike and have very, very little in common, but technically speaking, they're both blended learning. So that's part of the confusion, that it's really not enough to just say, oh, we're doing blended learning, because you can just throw some technology into a classroom and a little bit of online learning here and there, and you can call that blended learning. Or you can say we have an online classroom, or we're going to hire a tutor to work with the student a couple hours a week. That's also blended learning. So what we're talking about is really trying to find the right balance, right? And we're not it's not that we start with the end state. We said we have two tools. We have teachers and we have computers. Right? And how can we use each of those with their strengths and avoid their weaknesses and blend those together to find the perfect balance of those tools to educate our students properly? Because at the end of the day, it's not about the model, it's not about this blended learning term. It's about how can we do the best job educating each and every student as we possibly can.
And what's your hope in the next, let's say, 2 years?
My hope is that, first and foremost, my hope is that these schools continue to prove that this is possible. There's a lot of naysayers out there, and the only way we're going to overcome that is if we prove them wrong. And if we really go out and we say, look, this is happening in the Jewish day school, and our kids are happy, and they're learning, and they're progressing at their own paces, and parents are happy, and teachers are happy, and the administration is happy, and we're doing this, and we're producing a really high-quality education that is the same or even better than what you've seen in other schools, and doing so at a continuing lower cost over time. So that's number one, is just taking all these schools and enabling them to work together to find that right model that will actually work and succeed. And once that happens, this is just spreading like wildfire as it is. Even without us succeeding, other schools have already taken to some of this because it just makes sense. And the more we succeed, the more we can share what we've learned. And it's not just our goal to share it with each other, but it's our goal to share it with everybody. And every school should be doing this, and every school will be doing this. It's just a matter of time, and hopefully we can accelerate that process and really lead the way and lead by example for all of Jewish education to change forever.